Right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Yeah, welcome to our guests who are taking the time out to listen to us. We're going to have a quick, shall we say, debate on several topics. I think the first topic that we have is to do with uh, Kashmir Martyrdom Day or Kashmir Martyrs Day. And obviously, we have uh, AJ Saab from Bradford here, and we also got the Wood Saab from uh, Oxford. And basically, I think the other topics we have is to do with uh, lot of white Christian terrorists about who, for some reason, they're in the headlines. Should we say silent? Should we say they're not in the main headlines? And just to discuss why that is, and we can also talk about Nigel Farage's uh, gimmick resignation, and also the U.S., Israel, and Iran, the war update, if there is any, because I think that keeps changing every couple of minutes. Right. First of all, what is Kashmir Martyrs Day, Ejasab?
Yeah, so in on 13th of July 1931, uh, there was uh, there was a protest outside the Srinagar jail in occupied Kashmir, where the Dogra forces started firing onto those who started. It was Zohar time, and they started the azan. So they gave order to kill the Mohsin, the first one. He died. Then another one took his place. So he continued to the next one, and he continued, and they shot and martyred the next one. This kept happening until 22 Muslims completed the azan and were martyred. So that. Obviously, you'll hear about it. I wasn't aware of what happened
No,
until a
I
couple of
definitely
years
have heard
ago.
about this. I just want to mention that I definitely have heard about this, but I did not actually know that I was in Kashmir, believe it or not. In my obviously probably a young age, I have definitely heard about this. So, what are the Dogra forces? Are they the Sikh forces?
Yeah, so it was like the control was I think his name was Maharaja Hari Singh. I think that he was the ruler of Kashmir at that time,
Hmm.
and and
And
they were
indirectly was the British rule.
the British had given autonomy or gave positions to people who would do that dirty work. So they gave people in charge who would collect the taxes and give it to the British East India Company. Employ these people. The employees or were uh, the people who came in charge of areas, lands, and stuff. It was uh, the British agents basically who were paying, getting the tax of people. Uh, any rebellion, they would have loyalists, same color as both of us, or all of us, that look like brown, Muslim, Indians, Hindu. They had everyone to do that day work, and till this day, you see, this issue of Kashmir has not been resolved, even though the United Nations did stop the war when the Muslims were defeating the Dogra forces. They could have easily taken over Kashmir, but the UN got involved, and then they
I think, I think
made a line of control.
that's fine. The Kashmir issue obviously is an expanding issue, and I think I want to stop you there. So, with this particular incident on uh, 13 July 1931, the Woodside. So, what can we gather from this? So, what have you learned from this horrible event?
Well, I'm not too familiar with the event, but what I can tell that those individuals, Rahimullah, wa may Allah be pleased with them, they went out, went out for what they believed in. If you think about it, like they effectively had the most awesome deaths, right? They did what they said they were going to stand up for. La ilaha illallah. I
Mm,
guess the broader thing at the time of this, if we're talking 1931, East India Trading Company would have no longer existed. It would have been under British Empire. So, these individuals got into positions of power because the Muslims in the region allowed it. From
So,
like,
obviously, there was no direct Muslim rule, and I
how did that
think
happen?
we'll go one at a time. So, there was no direct Muslim rule, and we know these events. Obviously, before that, we had the Mughal. Uh,
Mughal was ruling the whole of the subcontinent, and Mughal was a
yes,
Muslim
and
rulers.
also we had within the British Raj, we had Muslims, Nawabs, and etc. etc. So it's complicated, and that's how the British run the system.
No, it's
But
pretty
with this,
simple, brother
with
Amir. It's
this,
pretty simple. It's people were interested in filling their coffers, and unfortunately,
yeah.
their bread, and they lost sight of what was
Mm.
the,
With this particular event, obviously there was, I think, 24 people that were killed, martyred altogether, and
alhamdulillah.
obviously they accomplished the mission of completing the Zan. And do you think Islamically this day is such a day that we should mark?
We should remember this
I don't think it's got nothing to
occasion.
do with Islam.
The azan that was given, we,
Mm.
we, we talk about Yazid and Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Hussein is still remembered. Karbala is obviously we know what happened at
Karbala is
Karbala. This,
remembered because Hussein radiallahu anh was the the epitome of standing for truth, right?
yeah,
Like to the nth degree. And yes, mashallah, tabarakallah, these guys, they did follow the philosophy of Hussein radiallahu anh, and nobody can take that away from them. And may Allah give them their rightful positions in Jannah. And we
mhm.
shouldn't forget that stuff. This is history, and we should understand. However, we should be critical, as we should be critical of the day why Hussein radiallahu anh was martyred. Why did that happen? There were other people who saw that. People are trying to try to paint it as, like we've got individuals who paint it in it so that they can legitimize existing rulers. I remember in Pakistan, you never even heard the word Kharuj, and now in the last 6 years, Kharuj is being thrown around in Pakistan of all places, right? And so this is what I'm saying. You have to understand like what is going on, what that
Mm.
philosophy of Hussein radiallahu anh was, and it was that he stuck to the truth. So don't ever kind of fall into the trap of saying it's complicated fog. It's not. It's very simple. Stick to the truth to the end.
Mm. I, that makes it very simple,
It
and
is,
yeah,
and
and
simple is painful. Honestly, it's painful.
yeah,
Seriously, like I think there was an example. Subhanallah. I'm going to reference the guy a lot on these calls. Is Sahiluddin? He gave the reference. He gave the example. He's like, if you had a knock on the door and Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came knocking on your door, how would you feel? What would you do? I mean, I would feel ashamed. I've got there's things that I would have to put right, right? So, like before. But the Sahaba, when they saw Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they saw Jannah, right? So
mm,
there is a gap in our development, in our psychological development, philosophy as well, in where we stand with the Quran and the Sirah. And it is
mm,
simple. Amr Sahab, sometimes the simple things are the hardest ones to accept.
mm. Right. So politically, this has been banned in Indian occupied Kashmir. So this, I think, since 2019, and in
Sorry,
Pakistan.
I'll just obviously you mentioned 5th of August 2019. The Article 370 and 35A
Mm,
were removed from the Constitution, Indian Constitution, which allowed some autonomy for the Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh and other areas. They were allowed to elect a legislative assembly, but that was removed on 5th of August 2019. That is another. Obviously, after that, what happened is we're going to be if massacres are taking place from 1931. You know, there's been massacre all the time. There's been Muslims that have stood up and been killed. I mean, how many more massacres until we wake up?
mm,
Yeah,
We,
but there's a Muslim army on that border. That's the most tragic reality,
right.
that there's a
That's
Muslim army
but that.
border that could change the paradigm
Mm.
overnight. That is
So
that is the most tragic thing.
swiftly moving on. Obviously, we know that we've got Indian occupied Kashmir. There's Chinese occupied Kashmir as well. But we've got the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which obviously is the Muslim rule. But currently, we're having a situation where the Azad Kashmiri people, especially from Mirpur and Muzaffarabad area, Rawalakot, uh, where they're having issues with the governance. That area is been a hotbed for these kind of activities where there's been massacres and people being killed. So the people that are being killed now are being killed by Muslim forces from Pakistan in a region what they called as Azad Kashmir. What do you call, so coming, obviously we've known the historic context where uh, 22 people, I think 24 in total, gave up their lives for a rightful cause. Do you think this is the current situation in Kashmir a rightful cause, or should they be more aligned to Pakistan?
that whole narrative that you presented here, that's the problem. Because whose army is it? Who is in the army? We
It's the
talk about the
Muslims. Yeah.
corrupt at the top. Generally, we've got Muslims who join the army. Nobody joins the army from the Muslims except for fighting and defending for Islam. That is what
Yeah.
the Pakistan Army's motto is, and that's what they do. But the thing that
And
we
the
have
crazy
to,
thing is, Amritsar, they don't even have to do it fi sabilillah. They get paid. They don't have
yeah,
to
to
do
get
fi
paid.
sabilillah. They get paid for it. And if they get
Mm.
martyred, the kids mashallah, the kids get sorted as well. So it's not like they're being like it makes you wonder. Maybe it should be fi sabilillah. Maybe people will be more willing, right?
So
Yeah,
But
it
because
seems
it's
like,
being considered a day job,
so the Pakistani armed forces are being martyred, and the Kashmiri citizens, innocent citizens, they're being martyred as well.
no, no, no. Let me just
sorry, you're
try to
missing the
make you
point.
understand. Let me try to make this sense. So, what you have is the Pakistani government, which is in the control of Western powers. Now, they are agents. If you look back at colonialism, you had a direct viceroy, a direct colonialism. Now, what you've got is neo-colonialism, which is they place these rulers at the top for you. America chooses who the chief of army staff should be, who should be
If the
the prime
America
minister,
wanted, they
which
could shut down the
party.
mosques tomorrow. Like literally, if the orders came from Washington to shut down mosques in the Pakistan,
They have
they would
done. They
shut them
have
down.
done that
And
past.
and
For the
yeah, they have done.
yeah.
I think what was it? They wanted the when was it Donald Rumsfeld who came in 2000 and was it 2003 Pakistan?
Mhm.
They shut down the Faisal Masjid. So yeah, they have done. They're known for this. So then the question is, how do you overcome this? Well, the imams have got to give the correct fatwa, or should I say, the muftis in the
Mm.
region. So they have the power, but for some strange reason they don't want to use. They want to exert that power that Allah has given them, and
Yeah,
Allah
I
only
think
helps those
the
who go
problem.
on
I think
power.
the problem is, yeah, I think there might be some guidance from the government to the uh, Maulanas or the
But it should be the
Imam.
other way around. You see, Hussein radiallahu anh, he stood against what was holding the power at that time, which was Yazid, right? And Imam ibn Hanbal stood against the power and pay the price as well. So the examples are there. You stick to the truth to the very end. And mashallah, these imams, they got it to the end. And even let's look at the most recent one, Umar Mukhtar. What do you think the other scholars were saying to Umar Mukhtar? What did they say? Oh, Umar, it's just going to be bloodshed. Just accept Italy, Italian rule. Mussolini, bend the knee to Mussolini. That's what they were saying to him. You know that. So,
Yeah.
Right.
so
Back to the topic. I think there's also mention of uh, Abdul Qadir. Is was his trial being taking place at the time, Ajasab? So with
Sorry,
this
repeat.
particular, so
repeat.
we've got Mr. Abdul Qadir. I think
Yeah.
his trial taking place at that particular location.
Yeah, so the tragedy unfolded outside the Srinagar Central Jail during the trial of Abdul Qadir, where state forces opened fire on unarmed demonstrators, shooting 22 men sequentially as they attempted to complete the Azan call to prayer. Well, I just want to obviously what he said, Abdul Qadir, which landed him in prison and to face the trial was this is Rashid Tasir in his Tariq al-Hurriyat recorded his speech as, and I just want you to bear in mind, and people should know what was his crime. So it wasn't a crime. He was basically fighting occupation. But Muslim brothers, he said, Muslim brothers, the time has now come when we should not meet force by great force to put an end to the tyrannies and brutalities to which you are subjected. Nor will they solve the issue of disrespect to the Holy Quran to your satisfaction. You must rely upon your own strength and wage a relentless war against oppression. Pointing his finger towards the palace, he shouted, "Raise it to the ground," he said. "We have no machine guns, but we have plenty of stones and brickbats." His speech was recorded by the authorities, and a few days later, on 25th of June, he was arrested. He was charged with sedition and wantonly giving provocation with intent to cause riot under the Rambili Penal Code. His trial started on 4th of July in the court of the session judges Srinagar during the four hearings on 4th, 6th, 7th, and 9th July. A large number of Muslims gathered in the compound of the court to witness this trial.
Right. Okay, that's an interesting background. Dawood Sab, you've got like a minute. Do you want to say anything on the actual trial of Abdul Qadir?
no, I'll just I guess highlight the fact that where was the Muslim army at that time? There were Muslims in the army.
I
They were
think
in
the
the wrong
Muslim,
army. It's called the British army.
I think the Muslim were in the minority, and obviously, what do you call, due to the fall of
A
the
very
Mughal.
trained minority that was in the army,
Yeah.
the
No,
British army.
I think obviously the Muslims were in there were classes, the intellectuals and the fighting.
And Afghanistan wasn't far either.
Yeah.
Most
So
there was a lot of Muslims, and I remember at that time, Afghanistan was.
and we know before that there was
outside.
we know before that there was
Right.
minority rule.
No,
In this
we have to get out the minority mentality. There were Muslims
there was minority
fighting not
Muslim
far
rule.
from.
Yeah, I understand that, but there was minority Muslim rule, and unfortunately, the Christians of the world or the
There was
European
no
world.
rule. There wasn't a minority Muslim rule. That's the thing. It's a princely state ruled by
Yeah,
someone that
but
wasn't a Muslim.
but there was foreign rule, and they were occupied people, and obviously they were heavily taxed, and etc., etc. So obviously we had
And
people like this.
Abdul Jabbar said, that, mashallah, they're against that.
Yeah, but saying that we should remember this particular day, and it's when I've heard this story for the first time, I was shocked that people would do this.
You
I think
remember it,
now,
I understand,
I
but
think
what lessons are you going to
I
take from
think
it?
if somebody shot, I think if somebody shot doing a zan now, I think even the
They are
mom would
being
run
shot
away.
in Gaza. In Gaza,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
they
But I'm just
are.
saying that there
Yeah, in
won't be
Sudan.
there won't be
In
people
Sudan,
to
they are.
complete this.
In,
There
in, in,
won't be
in fact, I
people to do
remember
this.
in the Central African Republic, that exact same things are happening in Central African Republic, right? So it is happening, and we're not doing anything about it.
Hmm.
So we're not
But
learning any lessons.
there are people trying to do something, but they're being suppressed.
How?
So how do
We
we
haven't.
get out of this
We've got
situation?
Shabana Mahmood. We've got a Pakistani Kashmiri as a whatever foreign sec, whatever she is,
Home
and she's
Secretary.
making policies against not even Muslims. She's making policies against saving babies. Just let that sink in. She's a Kashmiri.
Yeah, I think
She's a Midbury, right?
I believe so. I believe so.
There
And
you
I think the
go.
policies.
How about Imran?
Yeah,
How about
just
the guy in Bradford as well? What's his
I
position?
think
Why is he still in Labour?
Dawood, you've just touched upon something that is very crucial, because
There's no lessons.
where
We're not
are
learning any lessons.
yeah, so the lesson that we should learn, and I think obviously is something that we've all seen. We know who has the control in the Muslim countries, right? So those people who have power or have positions, they should the burden of responsibility is higher upon them,
Exactly.
and there is sincere elements within the armies who have tried in the past to topple the government. Like you mentioned, Pakistani army is being used by uh, neo-colonial setup that was left there to serve the West again. So nothing has really
And
changed.
just like you gave the example Abdul Jabbar about what was it called, Abdul Qadir.
Other, yeah,
He basically, that was a fatwa he gave. He gave the fatwa.
yeah,
That same
yeah.
fatwa can come from a Pakistani mufti. Why isn't that
Of course
happening?
it can. Yeah, why isn't it
So
happening?
where's the lesson? They haven't learnt it. This
They
is the
haven't.
shira.
No. Why is the responsibility is all on all the ummah, right? These muftis.
Those muftis have a better understanding than we. We're just sheep. We will
So
follow.
I mentioned a couple of days ago, and for a video about there's millions of people who want to change. There's 20,000 people in jails, and very well good thinkers, ulama. All these in the Muslim majority countries, they're not allowed to criticize the government. They're not allowed to talk about
Exactly.
political change.
Remember what we said a few weeks ago? In fact, we said last week, what are the three outcomes of this path? Either victory, prison, or death. And death is guaranteed for all of us. We're going to die. Whether we wait for the bed or we act and do something. Death is guaranteed. Victory is guaranteed to the believer as well. Because victory is also for us in death. Because if in death we walk towards the Sirat and we cross without any burden, without any munkar and nakir, saying, what did you do? And we can say, we did what we could. I did this every single day. I was making sure that I was trying to get Allah's law as the baseline again. That's how it becomes easy walking the grave. Sorry, when we get asked the three questions, just the three, those three will be the most painful questions of our life, of our existence, in whatever form or metaphysical form we land in.
I'm just going to finish there with the statement that, what do you call it, in Kashmir, we're still having issues, unfortunately, and there's no resolution. And I think, obviously, you've highlighted some of the ways that we can make this resolution. And obviously, hopefully, that is achieved. But is it anytime soon? Probably not. But I think what we now are going to do, obviously,
Good. Inshallah.
what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our next topic, which is to do with an individual in the UK who is being portrayed as some kind of young neo-Nazi who's planning, uh, in effect, to kill Muslims. And he had a whole guide uh, with him. So his name is Alfie Coleman, and they've given a very saddening kind of way how he was at the age of 14, brainwashed kind of thing. But the fact of the matter is, he was 22 when he was found guilty of preparing for terrorist
What was the
attacks.
charge? What was the
So he
charge?
was,
What was he charged under?
so he was found guilty of preparing for terrorist attacks. So in
But
effect,
what,
he's a terrorist.
was he charged under? So is he
Yes,
going to go to? Is he going to go to the same prison as the Amjan Chaudhry?
I don't know. I don't know that. He's been jailed for 13 and a half years, and a lot of people are not aware of this. It's not in the mainstream news, and I'm sure if he was Muslim, uh, this would be in the mainstream news, and it will be the main news probably for a couple of weeks, right?
I'm not saying you're not watching mainstream news, are you? Come on, man.
I know. This is not in the mainstream news. That's the problem. And he has,
I don't
if
even
he
watch
is in the mainstream,
it.
if he is in the mainstream news, then it's there for a while, only for a short while. But yeah, with this particular case, obviously he's a neo-Nazi. Moreover, it's like saying this person's an Al
I'm
Qaeda.
curious. Like, what was the sentencing? Was he sentenced the same way they sentence people who haven't done any crimes,
So
just for
he
thinking a certain way? There are people that are in prison today.
no no he
For example,
actually
the Pal Action guys and a few other Muslim brothers,
he was actually preparing to
just for
kill
challenging the
illegal.
word, just for explaining the word Taghut, they've been in prison. So what has he been? Has he been charged with under whatever section it is of terrorist act?
Yeah, he's preparing a terrorist attack. So he had a manifesto,
No,
and
no.
he
Was he charged?
identified.
I know he's preparing, but was
No,
he?
he's been charged. He's been jailed. He's been jailed as well for 13 and a half years.
So
Uh,
where's the
For how
media
long?
outcry then? Where's the media outcry?
there isn't.
Headlines.
There isn't. That's why
Blank,
me and you are highlighting this. That's why we are
yeah,
highlighting this.
I haven't even,
Oh,
seriously, I was not able to find anything even on social media.
yeah.
The thing
So
is, right, look, let me
this
just,
this
give me
particular
1 minute,
this
I'll, what my take is on this.
this particular individual was preparing a manifesto, and he was even planning on killing the London mayor, which is a
Hmm.
Muslim, and he had it all planned out, right? So what my question is, right, is why isn't this in the mainstream media? Obviously
I
now
think
now
he's
we
missing
will
the
be.
point.
Hopefully, 100 more people or 200 more people will learn about this from us. But
I
what
don't
I'm
know,
trying
but
to say is,
you're missing the point. This guy was
yeah,
motivated, right? I mean, how old was he when he started? That means that what's the word? How can I say this?
so,
Like, evidently,
He's been
the
both, like you're saying, he was both believing
yeah.
what the media tells about Islam and the Muslims.
yeah,
So all the propaganda that's been, we are collectively punished, or character assassination of us has been taking place for 22 years, roughly 22 years after the war on terror. This was, he was he born that time? He saw that. Would you want to do anything, like if you knew, if everybody was telling you that on media that this is what Muslims are like, they must get rid of Islam, they have to integrate, they're not doing that, so Muslims have been portrayed as a suspect community. Now, how do we get out of that? There's a narrative, their narrative, that's clear cut. Now, our narrative, what that should be, what is going on with the foreign policy of these Western nations? How many people have they killed in Iraq? The children they've killed, 500,000. Madeleine Albright, she said, is it a price worth paying for? She said, yes. This is not about double standards. We shouldn't over think
And
that this is.
we've got
No, let me just. Yeah,
Amrza. No, I'm just sorry.
yeah, go on.
I'm literally, I'm with you. I'm with you, Abdul Jabbar.
Yeah.
Amrza, people have gone to prison just for accessing a certain document. They haven't agreed to the document. They haven't, what's the word, endorsed the document just for accessing it for research purposes, for whatever reason. And because the guy who accessed it or the lady who accessed it wasn't named Sania or Ahmed, they were put in prison. And then on top of that, they had secret evidences, which could be just made up mumbo jumbo, right? By anybody, just to send the message. Now, this is where people in power, like Shabana Mahmood, I'm going to mention her name, they and civil servants, we've got Muslims in there, that can overturn these rulings. And that can come down harsher on individuals behaving like the guys who did New Zealand attack mosques and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And let's be very frank. This is happening because we let it get away. How come? What did Golders Green have, guys? You know what they have? They have their own police.
They've got their own NHS
They
as
got
well.
their own police. They got their own hospitals. And I mean, why is it that the Muslim? Why in Bradford they got his own hospital and his own Muslim police? You could be leading, meaning that Bradford could be that pinnacle of that. Like people look at that. Wow, look at this. The facilities are amazing.
We haven't even recovered from the Bradford riots. When the the far right came, set the place afire, went off, and our youth was sentenced for 15, 20 years imprisonment for just throwing a stone. I mean, I'm not justifying that.
Oh, no, I'm not justifying. I'm just going to ask you: did the imams were involved in that? Those guys who were giving you the legal framework?
No, they didn't. It was just our own. We had to do our own homework. Amar?
Yes.
So that's obviously what we've mentioned here. Is we're just talking about.
I think I'll probably just finish. Obviously, this topic.
Sorry, you got cut off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Right. So basically, this particular person, obviously, in the media,
the imams didn't go to prison though. They were the ones that are supposed to be leading. They're the leaders. It's in the title, Imam. Imam means leader. So why didn't they assist with providing those facilities, looking at ways of getting the commercial guys in and getting the ways to uplift the community?
This particular individual, obviously,
it's
they're telling us a very sad story about him. He was only 14 when he first began to troll the internet for extreme driving material, and they're calling him a young man. And they also, the way they're describing him, sometimes is very sympathetic. But this person was actually planning on killing the Lord Mayor and also planning an attack on a mosque. So I think that's why we're trying to highlight this particular individual. Obviously, is a terrorist, and people for saying a few words, searching a few documents, do actually go to prison, as the Wood Sabs said. But I think what we need to highlight is, for some reason, this particular person is not being called a terrorist, even though he's been jailed for preparing for terrorist acts. So, and it happened at the highest of courts in the Old Bailey, right? So, for some reason, I think there need to be organizations from the United Kingdom, from the Middle East, who fund a lot of organizations, even in the mainstream organizations where, like CNN and others, Muslim ownership exists, right? So I think for that reason, there needs to be more awareness. The obviously PR, should we say, public relations needs to be better in that sense. I think,
man, if we were doing our job right, this Alfie geezer would never have even dreamed of bombing the mosque. Yeah, but we haven't led, we haven't done, like our communities have just
mm,
collected
Where
chandas
where is the
for.
dawah? Where is the dawah to non-Muslims?
And the best dawah to non-Muslims is leading in thought. Why is it that the masjids didn't become
Absolutely.
research centers? Like, for example, the monks, Oxford University was nothing, Cambridge University was nothing, right? They didn't exist. But it was monks that went to Andalus, took the transcripts, came back, and then Oxford was born out of that. They even had even dedicated departments just to learn, make sure that new monks coming in were learning Arabic to translate the research that was compiled in Andalus. So what we have a step ahead, and yet the mosques are just there to do 5 daily prayers. The imams are supposed to be creating a space for research centers, leading not only just in scientific
and
research, but exploring. Well, let me finish. Exploring other aspects of research,
mm,
research activity, and political sciences. That's how you start to make sure you don't create the alphys.
right, yeah, with this particular incident, obviously we have uh, this individual who, thanks to the MI5, he's been caught, he's been arrested, and he's been jailed, and thankfully, he didn't commit any murders, which was very likely to happen. He was actually about to purchase some weapons. That's how far down he was caught. He was already had a manifesto, and yeah, he should have been jailed probably for a lot longer. Right? But I think just a
I don't know. I don't
silent,
think we should thank the MI for doing his job.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. No, I just thought,
it's
I just thought
like,
that's actually what happened. So it wasn't a Muslim organization that caught him. So it was actually the government organization MI5. But I just want to probably mention on this separate subtopic, Israel is pumping money into the United Kingdom. I do know from online forums, and uh, people are setting up in Manchester, for example, research programs, and is being heavily funded. We're not seeing any of that from the Muslim billionaires, trillionaires, families who could potentially, what do you call, easily invest in Britain and America to have researchers and
brother, we
people.
got every year Muslims. This is recorded. It's probably a lot more. Muslims are contribute 2.5 billion pounds sterling a year in charitable contributions. Where's that money going? It's paying CEOs of these bloody charitable organizations.
I
So
think
that
you're absolutely right there. The money
so
wise, the Muslims in Britain or other countries as well, they will give so much charity, and you can see the goodness in the ummah. Well, I just want to highlight one point, which is enjoining and inviting to Islam, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. So this is very important work. It's mentioned in the Quran in number of ayahs. Also, the Prophet ﷺ hadith mentions enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. But the hadith is a very strong one. The Prophet ﷺ, I'm paraphrasing, that the Prophet ﷺ said, "You must enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And if you do not so, you will raise your hands up in dua, and your duas will not be accepted." So enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, inviting to Islam, this is no part-time activity. The Sahaba put their lives on the line to take Islam to the four corners of the world. This is no, and the state is responsible for conveying the message to other countries. We as individuals, and we could set up a group to do that. There is already groups, but what I'm saying is, it's not it's not like people think we do it as individuals. We do it like the Prophet ﷺ did. He set up a group. His group was called Sahaba. They went into society. They challenged the evils in that society, and obviously there was a clash. They were persecuted. So we've got to look at this at the Quran, the Hadith, Sunnah.
And like you said, yeah,
we
you're right,
look,
Abdul Jabbar. It's the instrument of power. So today
yeah.
we see that as government, but it is the
Mhm.
instrument of power. All power belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal, and we need to get back to what that instrument of power is, right? Oh,
Absolutely.
and Allah Azza wa Jal only changes the condition of a people if they change it themselves. And it's a people, not person, people.
Yeah,
So
it's Qom.
it's going to
Qom,
be
the word that.
Qom, yes. So it's going to take like just like there's in today there's an elite group that control the entire globe. Is going to take another elite group that is upon the haqq to control the entire globe for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's how we got to go in that framework. But what did they try to feed you? Democracy. The power of the people doesn't exist. We only believe in the power of Allah Azza wa Jal and restoring the dignity of humanity through that power.
Absolutely. And
Yeah, I think so with that particular topic, with regards to the terrorist who was caught, thankfully, he was targeting a mosque. He was targeting senior politicians, and he's only been sentenced for 13 and a half years. I think these sentences should be highlighted as well. Currently, we've got the grooming gang inquiries, and we've also got people who are being released from prison, and their legitimacy to stay in the United Kingdom being challenged. And obviously, that will probably, if those laws do go ahead by Shabana Mahmood, it will probably cast
this is the tragedy. This is the tragedy of the situation. Is like
they will cast
reality.
Muslims, Pakistanis, Indians.
It's not even if this is a case of Pakistani Muslims. It's about sticking to the truth. At the end of the day, how is it that a man stalks a lady? Yeah, stalks a lady, impersonates himself as an Uber driver. He's not an Uber driver. Impersonates himself, stalks her, and kidnaps and rapes her, and gets 31 months. 31 months. You can check it yourself on Google. 31 months. But someone that doesn't harm anybody is trying to stop an instrument that's going to be used to kill babies 3,000 miles away, gets life sentence. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that.
And we're not performing. The Muslims ain't performing.
I don't know if by her name, it looks like she prescribes to the Islamic faith, but it don't look like it.
No, let's hold her father to account, her mother to account. What you guys been playing at? Her uncles. It should be unbearable for them.
We need to find out if they have disowned her yet or not. But
they've got free mortgages, man. That's how that's why they're in these positions. They've got free homes, expenses paid.
Okay.
Lobby pays for their stuff. That's how it works. They care about the stomach. And unfortunately, Munkar and Nakar will be waiting for the other end.
I think we also need to not forget that there were Muslims who voted her in as well. But for some reason, don't know why. But I think without further ado, I think this is like a separate topic that we're delving in, because obviously we do know that it's to see at the moment everything and everybody is against Islam.
And let's not leave Imran off the hook either. Why is he still in the Labour Party? Why is he still associated with Shabana Mahmood? He's in your back garden, man.
He was forced to leave the Labour Party. He was forced to leave the Labour Party. Then he's rejoined the Labour Party now.
There we go.
He was independent for a while, but
basically he's shameful. He's got no shame. They kicked you out and he still went back.
Look, brothers, look, all secular parties, irrelevant whether they're in UK or Pakistan or wherever elections they hold, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, it says in English translation, let there arise from amongst you a party that calls to the hate and joins the good and forbids the evil, and they
And
are
that's a
the ones
party
who
of
will be
power.
successful. That is the
It's a
party
party
that
of
you
power.
need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And that and subhanallah, Amr Saab, the UK can do it probably tomorrow, if not in a week, if the imams, the muftis, and the imams got together and said, "Look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to issue a fatwa making it absolutely forbidden for anybody to give even a penny to Muslim Aid or any of the other guys. We're going to set up Baitul Mal. It's going to be heavily audited by 3 different auditors, and that 2.5 billion is going to be distributed across the board for research and development and make it uplifting the community. Even non-Muslims will champion the masjid. I guarantee you that, Amr Saab, the non-Muslims will champion the masjid when they see the fruits of what those masjids bring to the society.
Well, I think obviously there is some work that goes on with the Muslim charities, but they're heavily being uh, uh, even when we're looking at
Brother, they just
newspapers.
gave one charity, I think it's called Human Appeal, gave
British
200 million. I think was it 20 million or so, 2 million to some social media guy. Does that make any sense to you?
no,
2
I
million
think
in a time when the children are being
he
slaughtered.
collected seven point somewhere million, and they gave him 2 million kickback, shall we say? But
That's
anyway,
just one example. There's countless.
yeah, and it was hidden and it was improper, and that's incorrect. They shouldn't have done that. And let's,
It's how it works. So
yeah,
the imams can come tomorrow and make that basically forbidden. So Muslims that do it will be haram for them, and they should be putting that money towards a Baitul Mal
I
that
think the charity
basically
sector. I
uplifts
think,
society and
yeah,
globally looks at creates the catalyst, the thing that Abdul Jabbar was talking about, the catalyst for the elite group to uplift whole of humanity.
there is some.
Through Quran.
The charity commission has some form of authority, and they are, in a sense, of forcing these charities to compile reports.
The
And
commission
yes,
is doing what it's supposed to do, which is just secularize they're trying to get us distracted, trying to divide our wealth, power, and our ability to generate that power. So
but I think the
What?
251 billion is necessary, but I think
for what?
we also need a separate. Because no, it's necessary, but there
Look,
are
I said the
disasters
2.5
that
billion is
have,
actually a drop in the ocean.
yeah,
It's a drop in the
and
ocean. It's nothing.
yes, and there definitely is problems, and yeah, and I think even with Oxfam and other charities, we've seen problems. But you are right. In how do we, in terms of research and development, how do we par with Israel's funding of centers in Manchester, research centers in Manchester, in their own in Israel
Oh,
and
we can do
other,
that, man. Oh my God, we can do that overnight.
yeah,
Yeah,
but we've
the
got.
Imam Sahib.
I think
Well, Amr Sahib, next time you speak to
we
the
also
Imams, right?
highlighted we also highlighted that what do you call, for example, United Arab Emirates, Dubai, I think in particular, is paying people like the far right, including Tommy Robinson and others. They're calling them to events. But anyway, that's we have to debate that on a separate show. I think but what we've got headlined is Farage resigns, who is supposed to be the future Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And I do think, obviously, he resigns, but I think he will probably win his seat again in Clacton. But I think he's a gimmick. But this particular individual, obviously, I think he has not much love for the Muslims, but he has a lot of love for the money, and he has been funded by Muslims as well. But this particular individual is going to most likely become a future prime minister. Hopefully, he isn't. But what do you think about his resignation and what is happening? Ages
What's
of
our plan? What's our plan? How are we going to become influential? And that's the question we should be asking ourselves. How do we adopt ideas? How to start thinking without going to X, Y, and Z? Why are we taking? Why not? We become the
We have to
thinkers.
be thought
We
leaders,
become
and
the
only we lead
politicians.
is with the Quran.
Leaders, yeah, we should become that.
Thought
Don't leave it
leaders,
to anybody else.
I know,
because
but
at the end of the day,
how is that? This process costs money. This process
Sorry?
comes for free. This process costs money. So when
as
you,
do elections. So why waste your money on elections?
yeah, no, I think
Put that money
Yeah.
towards research.
I think that's a separate issue. The
No,
Reform Party has said it
Amar,
costs
Amar, let me
250,000.
hold you there. Let me hold you there.
It costs 250,000 for the
We
elections.
have,
The Reform Party
we,
said they pay that.
yeah, listen, there's people that doing courses for, they charge hundreds of thousands of pounds, which you can have for free. And the people that don't even are not willing to learn learn the Sira. They're not
Yeah.
willing to learn the tafsir of the Quran. They say, look, we've got no time.
I
If
agree
they've
with
got no
Abdul,
time
but
for the
it's gonna
children,
those
Yeah,
Amr sir,
that's exactly my point. Just one second. That's exactly my point. You need to pay for that because they haven't got the time because nobody is willing to fund that particular
will
uh,
look, Amr
task.
sir,
no,
I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna answer
look,
it directly. That there
how,
are gonna be only a select people who are gonna do that. Not everybody's gonna look. Not everybody is gonna be the elite. There's gonna be a select people. So we have to create the catalyst for that, the lobby, the strong lobby for
Yeah.
those individuals who are determined to do that, who are going to develop that psychology, the philosophy, and that are going to lead the rest of the sheep towards that philosophy, right?
I'll
That's
finish
what
that
it
as
is.
well, inshallah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's, you're absolutely right, Dawood. And even the Prophet ﷺ said, there will always be a vanquishing group upon the truth from my ummah. Those that oppose them will not harm them until the promise of Allah comes.
like
So
I'll give you the
there's always
example.
going to be
Like,
groups.
I think
look at the
we know.
most recent one. Look at the most recent one, right? We say everything is too simple, right? Okay. Mullah Umar in 1994, I think this was, he was a nobody. He was just like an imam in a masjid, just like your local imam in the masjid. That's all he was, nothing. A family came crying to him to say that my son, this masjid, this madaris, their imam abused my son, and they were crying their eyes out. So Mullah Umar had no association with that masjid, so he went to that masjid and said to him, "I want that imam outside today, now, and if he doesn't come now, I'll give you 3 days." 3 days he gave them, and he came back and he killed 13 people barehanded. He was not a trained killer. He was an imam, but he stuck to the truth. A child was abused. That created that catalyst. The elite is only going to take 1 or 2, 3 to get to that 20,000.
Yeah, I'm going to
Right.
stop you there. Because, obviously, there's a you've given Mullah Umar, who I think is well known. Is he from Afghanistan?
Yeah, he passed away 2013,
Yeah, so he's well known. I think in terms of.
but he wasn't at the time. He was a nobody.
But I think with that particular case,
So the thing
it
that
looks like
created the legend
like
was
he
his
bypassed.
actions to stick to the truth.
But I think his actions were they Islamic? The reason why I'm saying
Yes,
that
yes.
was
A child was
that
abused. A
was that
child was sexually abused, and he wanted to hold the person to account. That
was that
person also was a connected
Islamic
person.
crime? Was that an
Okay,
Islamic crime?
Amr Saab, listen to me carefully. That person was connected, and people in the local community were scared. They didn't want to take this further.
Yeah.
But
That's
Mullah Umar did. He did, because he knew in full yaqeen, full ikhlas, that he has to answer to Allah Azza wa Jal. He heard the cries in Surah Al-Nisa. He heard the cries, so he went and delivered the promise of.
So yeah, okay, he became a well-known, established.
But not just that. How?
established figure
Look at the process.
in Afghanistan. I understand that, but what I'm trying to tell you is,
And listen, and it was his daughter's sons that kicked out who? The NATO. So that philosophy went through his children, man.
yeah, and
You get it?
I think especially, I think Mullah Umar was apparently killed by the US.
No, he wasn't.
10 times, and afterwards we found out it was
Oh,
alive. Anyway,
God.
yeah, I think there was several of those cases, but I think we need to move on with the topic in
Can
mind.
I just, obviously,
Can
we're
I
talking
make
about.
Second, we need to, Nigel Farage, this particular individual who might become prime minister. What do you think? Is it a gimmick or something there?
We don't care.
I don't. I think we should. We should. We're going overboard talking about Nigel Farage. The mainstream media has him on. Everybody's picking him up. Is he
Yeah.
an establishment guy? Some people think he's not, and that's why they're voting for him.
I
Others
promise you,
know that
Ahmed
he's
Sam,
an
if
establishment guy.
if there's one, sorry, Abdul Jabbar, sorry to interject. If there's one lesson that you should take from Najib Faraj is that that this law that they've got that MPs can't get funding other than stuff that they have to claim and all that declare. Sorry, that means the likes of Shabana Mahmood, Imran, basically every MP is getting kickbacks that they don't have to declare. That's the only lesson you should take away, meaning that you shouldn't look at them for anything because they're just getting kickbacks. And the biggest one to give them kickbacks, as we know, is the Zionist lobby.
Yeah, I think we obviously we don't know if
It's the truth.
I think that there definitely is for some of the MPs. I don't know if it's for
All
all
of
of
them.
them. Okay.
All of them. Maybe not
Yeah.
independent.
Yeah,
Maybe not all.
Farage is being asked about the money. Where does it come from?
That's why he resigned.
It's gonna,
Because it's a technicality.
obviously, people know, and obviously, more people are waking up to the fact. It's not that they don't; they are against the establishment and against the mainstream parties. So they see Farage and his Reform Party as just an alternative because they're being fed that the immigrants are the problem.
The sheep are going to follow, and they're being
Yes,
led.
sheep are gonna
They're being
follow.
led. That's why the Muslims have got to step up, become that ultimate lobby, and it's not bad for them. We're literally talking about abolishing taxes. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to get rid of income tax. We're going to get rid of council tax. We're going to provide. It's going to be like a thing that, like I told you, man, non-Muslims will champion. We're not asking them to become Muslims. That's up to them because we're not the one to decide who wants to become Muslim or not. Yeah. And like Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, there's no compulsion in deen, in religion. So fine. We're not interested in that. We're interested in uplifting the condition of humanity. We're all Banu Adam. And Adam alayhi salam was given a law, and that law has never changed. And we have a covenant. We have a promise we have to fulfill to Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Right. We'll end it there with the Nigel Farage scenario. Obviously, he looks like a gimmick, and he's going to win the election. And the main thing is his agenda that he's pushing. That he's pushing the country to the far right, and he's doing a good job with Keir Starmer following his rules and regulations for some reason. And we got Shabana Mahmood and others who are helping that as well for some reason. Right. Without further ado,
the ones that we should definitely target are the likes of Shabana Mahmood.
Yeah.
They're the ones that say we are you. Right? They're the ones that were doing Palestine marches in 2014. Right? When they're not doing Palestine marches in 2014.
She was.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
So those are the people those are the munafiqeen that we need to hold to account.
Yeah, and if you
Ibn Ubez. Today's Ibn Ubez.
If you look at the Quran, I think you wanted to obviously why is our mission? Why have we taken up that mission? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntum hayra ummatin akhrijat linasi ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhuna anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah wala ma'ana ahlul kitaba lakana hayran minhum المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. You are the best community or best ummah ever raised up for humanity. You encourage good, forbid evil, and believe in Allah. Had the people of the book believed, it would have been better for them. Some of them are faithful, but most are rebellious.
Right.
That's right quote for you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you to enjoy the good, invite to head, in Islam, enjoy the good and forbid the evil.
And that's what we're
And
going to
some
do.
people are saying, if you listen to some of the muftis, they're saying don't do anything,
Exactly.
accept all this. You can't. They're saying
And
even
that's why
don't
we got
rate
we've
it.
got the
Yeah,
23, more than 23 in Gaza who are doing Adhan and being slaughtered, more than
yeah.
23 in Sudan being slaughtered, more than 23 in Central Africa Republic being slaughtered, just because they're doing Adhan. So
Yeah.
we're going back to the first topic. Is basically we've got to learn from those lessons, take the lessons. We need to come to power. We need to make sure that the oppressor doesn't get away with oppressing.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'll highlight from that is what I was trying to say was there needs to be influx of money coming in for public relations, PR,
It's not just
and
money.
also to be in the mainstream news, and also to
Mhm.
be in the mainstream. You have to be in all places, shall we say, in government,
Once you become the lobby,
then,
all
and then
other things speak for
it'll
itself.
be easier to establish a system. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Amr Saab, let me give you a very basic one. Toyota. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Toyota.
Toyota reliability.
There you go. If the Muslims do what they're doing, you won't even need advertising. They'll just advertise itself.
I know,
When
but
people say, when people get the
are
mosque, they say, "Oh, yeah."
Muslims known as being reliable, honest?
Well, there you go. So we have to do that. We have to now demonstrate that through the
Yeah.
research.
And how are you gonna prepare that image? How are you gonna what do you call
That
that
will
image?
come. Of course, it will come. All right, Amrza, if tomorrow let's say you're not a Muslim, I come to you, I increase the quality of your life, yes, not by taking any money from you. We're literally going to cut your council tax by making sure the roads are paved, no dirt is on the roads, and everything is running as smoothly as it can. The number of doctors per person is adequate. The number of care centers have dignified spaces, and the public is in aman. You're not a Muslim. You're not a Muslim. Would you not shout, "Oh, how amazing this is"? That'd be your natural disposition, wouldn't it? That'd be, "Oh,
And
look how amazing this is."
there's been lots of examples.
And thankfully, and then you knew that all this was because your local mosque, sorry, network of local mosques came together, created the research departments, created the political sciences, came up with the alternative methods of governance for the local region that
Mm,
uplifted everybody, not just the Muslims, everybody.
mm.
I
You
mean,
will
today,
you
yeah,
will scream for like how amazing this is.
I
You wouldn't
think
need like
Sikhs
you
are
said,
doing a better
Toyota.
job.
If the BBC came to you and said, "What do you think of your local mosque?" You'll say it's the most amazing place. Just like when I asked you, "What's Toyota?"
Mm,
You say it's reliable.
I know, but
Speaks for itself.
I think the media has suggested otherwise. The media suggested that people with big beards and are not good people and to be afraid of. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I am trying to tell you that is a very elementary and child disposition. Once you lead by the example, once you lead and people experience and taste what you offer as a lobby, they'd be like, "Who cares what the BBC has to say?"
Mm.
Because you, like you said, you must have driven a Toyota for you to say Toyota is reliable.
Yeah, I'm driving a
You've
Toyota
experienced it.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, you've experienced it. Yes. So
yes.
that's what I'm saying. So when your neighbors that are non-Muslim experience the lobby, the beauty that the mosque brings to its locale, they'll be like, doesn't matter who anybody else says. I can see the fruits of this labor.
so we're just talking about the kickbacks, yeah, that Nigel Farage has taken, and so many others have taken because the
Yeah.
system. Let me just break it down for you. These kickbacks are given to candidates who are going to stand for elections. Once they are in power, or as in they're going to make laws, they're going to make laws not for you and me who have just voted for them. they're going to make laws for the companies that have given them millions of dollars, billions of dollars behind those parties to get into power. That's the reality of democracy. And
Exactly.
if you think your vote is going to change anything,
Think again.
you're daydreaming. You should have a cup of coffee and wake up. I mean, a lot of people go into the system thinking they're going to make change. They get stuck in the system and they never ever what they were before their campaign or that before they win the election. They never even mention what they'd promised to the people.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's fine. But once again, how did the early Muslims, how did they manage the systems? How did they manage the affairs? How did they
Medina Masjid,
help
man.
the,
I'll be honest
help
with you.
the
Ahmed
people?
Sahib.
Help
Yeah.
the
Ahmed Sahib,
people?
pick up any
How
copy,
did they?
any
How
copy
did
of
they start
Sira,
the social
and they'll
No,
answer,
no, we
they'll
are.
answer your question.
system?
How did they do
How
that?
how did the Muslims start the social security system?
Like I said,
They
brother,
look when
I understand
zakat.
you're talking
Just
about.
give me
I,
1 minute.
I,
Zakat system.
I,
I'll tell you how it worked. The Prophet ﷺ, after he passed away, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq faced the reality of tribes not willing to give their zakat.
yeah,
What did he say? He said to Umar, Umar said, we've got too many problems. People are leaving Islam, tribes. We've got Romans and Persians. And the Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq told him, look, this Lashkar, the Lashkar of Usama, this has been declared. The Prophet ﷺ said, release it, matlab hai, let it go to do the jihad. And internally, what problems were, how they were resolved was by force. He said,
yeah,
even if, let me just finish, even if a camel is bro and his what's the word, the rasi, what is it called, the rope, is not given, I will fight them too. And
okay,
he was able to do all these multiple things.
yeah,
And
but,
zakat was collected.
yeah,
Zakat was collected by the state. It's not the responsibility of these groups that are collecting zakat. The responsibility was upon the state to manage and give it to the people, the 7 categories of people that are mentioned in the Quran.
right.
And
That's
who are
fine.
these people giving it to? So when
Basically,
you, yeah,
you just mentioned a system where is also already established. Our Prophet, Holy Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, established a system. The successor, which is a caliph, was Hazrat Abu Bakr, then Hazrat Umar. They had that succession. What I'm
yeah,
trying to tell you is we are beneath that because we didn't have obviously our Prophet obviously
what was
they
the last khutbah?
passed it, they
Let's go
passed
to
it
the
on,
last khutbah.
but we haven't had a caliphate for a very long time. How are you going to establish it from the
What
ground
did,
up?
let me ask you
Are
I'll
something,
answer
Ahmed
that.
Sahib, Ahmed Sahib, what did
with
the
Yeah.
that
Prophet
system that you
Sallallahu Alaihi
mentioned,
Wasallam
with that
say
system
to
that
the
you mentioned,
people?
with that system that you mentioned, you can't say you need to say it from the ground up. You already
We don't,
you're talking about
how
a
are we
system
doing it
that
from
No,
the ground
no,
up? How are we
no
doing it
how
from
ground
the
up.
ground
How
up?
is it supposed to be?
Ahmed
he's
Sahib,
already
how many
said that
mosques do you have in Bradford?
we have got many mosques.
Exactly.
Probably
So
a
if they
fifth
all
part.
came together, if they all came together, just Bradford. I'm not giving you examples of any other cities. Just Bradford. If they all of them came together and and just collected their finances, forget the 2.5 billion for a second. Just collected their like just like the local, just like your council is one council. It's not 3 or 4 or 5. It's your local council, isn't it? So like just like the masjids, irrespective Salafi, Barelvi, whatever, they all came together. Wait one sec. They all came together. They put all their finances together. That alone would change the paradigm. That would shift the paradigm. That would shift that you would within months would uplift the quality of life in
Yeah, I
Bradford.
understand that. I understand
Right?
that. I 100% understand that. Obviously, we're
And all
talking
they
about
would be doing, is following the Medina model. That's it, and that's in the
yes.
Sirah. And every Imam knows it. And if they're not talking about it on Jummah, then they need a slap.
So you've got corrupt individuals, you've got dodgy individuals, you've got Muslims by name,
Then
right?
that's
What I'm trying
all
to
you have
tell
to
you
do.
is
You have to audit. It's called auditing, man.
we need to understand that we are the rock
It's
bottom.
the system. It's the
We
system.
need to,
If you
yes,
join the system, corrupt system, will you become pure, or will you become corrupt?
Obviously,
I,
if
I,
you
know- I know
enjoy
this is I'm I got
Look,
I
look.
got to ask you. I know Abdul Jabbar. You hit the point on the nail. There was something. You remember when when Imran Khan came into power, there was all this conversation about there's going to be massive change. He was talking about Medina Riyadh, Medina model and everything, and he did the contrary. He went to IMF begging for money. Billah. So this was backwards and forwards. And one of the guys, he's from Bradford. He turned out to be a Qadiani now. At the time, he was a Muslim. Billah. He looked like a Sunni to me, and but he when I posited the example and I said, look, would you clean? No, first I gave him a silly example. I said, would you open up a prayer house in a brothel? And he said, yeah, that's a good thing. I was like, okay, let me rephrase that. Would you wash dirty dishes with dirty water? So that's what we're dealing with, right? So the imams know what they have to do. They have to, for starters, raise the IQ of the sheep who think it's okay to open a prayer house in a brothel, right? They need to raise those IQs, and they need to come together and fix the condition of Bradford itself.
and obviously that,
Make,
that model we reject. Obviously, that's uh, brothel or anything. What's the best word? Pleat, or which is sinful. We should say. Obviously, we're talking about pure place. But likewise, we're currently in an impure environment. We need to
no,
purify the
how what impure environment? How is
well,
impure environment?
I
We're not
understand
in a
the
brothel.
Do you mean becoming a member of the UN?
no.
That's an
The UN are
impure
useless. The UN
impure
are useless.
environment for you.
The
The
UN has
role
the
Even
of
our
membership
opponents,
most
of the UN.
useless organization. The United Nations are the most useless organization who have caused more issues. For example, the Kashmir issues, which was one of the main starting
Amr
issues
Sahib, Amr
that
Sahib, they are the
exist.
useful.
The
They are the
Palestinian
most
issue
useful one, but
exists.
for the people who it's created for.
Yeah,
That's what you have to understand.
yeah.
They
But
are
what
useful, but not for you and
the
me.
model- no,
What I'm
what
saying to you, Amr Sahib, the masjid's got to come together and be
you
useful
give
for the whole of
you
humanity.
you're giving historic examples, which is fine,
Wow.
which I agree. I agree that they to look upon, but the current model, how we're finding it very difficult in Turkey and Pakistan, for example, to establish a successor to our holy prophet, or some kind of system to that avail, or establish a caliphate.
You give Turkey an example. Turkey is a secular state. Turkey was the one that was against Islam for so long, and even
Yeah.
now,
But when
its
you
whole
talk about
infrastructure is
Britain is
geared
the one.
against Islam.
Britain is the one who destroyed the Ottoman Caliphate and the Muslim
No,
empires.
no,
There
no,
Uh,
was
no.
agents. They set up agents amongst the like Saudi. Saudi was the revolt of the Arab revolt was paid by the British. You're absolutely right there, but it was the agents who then decided
Amr
to
Sahib,
label all Turkish.
if I
Sorry.
gave you a hammer and I insinuated you should now use it, A'udhu Billah, on, I don't know, your loved one,
Yeah.
and you did it, that's your problem, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
my problem. I
Absolutely.
gave you the hammer.
no,
I
I think
financed the hammer.
I think
I
you've aided
financed
and
it.
abetted me. If you give me the hammer, you aided and abetted me. But anyway,
I did, but you were the one that
We-
used the
yeah,
hammer.
yeah. At the end, of the day, that's the main thing. And obviously,
We have
I've
to be
heard of the
accountable.
I've heard of the song that you hammer in the morning, hammer in the evening, and you hammer all over the sun. But anyway, what we need to establish, what I'm trying to tell you is, obviously, starting that authority is the most difficult thing. Obviously,
No,
it is
it's easy.
simple. It's simple.
Keep it
Obviously,
consistent.
the ideology is there.
Starting is easy. Consistency is hard. Easy start. Consistency is hard. Making sure that like you said, there's going to be corrupt individuals trying to get in. So to be able to audit them. Remember, if you look at the Sirah, Ibn Ubay was a munafiq, right?
Like,
And you see
okay,
what I'm saying? So it's all about the auditing and stuff and
what
being
I'm trying to
really,
tell you is,
really tight about
the,
it. Right?
what do you call Hazrat Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, Imam Ali, they had successors, they had a succession. And what I'm trying to tell you is, like, it was probably the model of the Ottoman, who came from like a small uh, area that they control. Then they became bigger and bigger. In that example, that what do you call they had some form of they didn't have it easy, and it took many years to establish the caliphate. I'm just giving that
No,
example.
no, no, no. No, think about that for a second.
So, but
After
if you
Prophet
look at
ﷺ passed,
it, how did they establish it?
it was
Obviously,
almost within 3 years. It was literally in 3 years. Umar ibn Khattab controlled 100% of the globe in 3 years. Seriously, go back to it. It'll shock you. It's shocking.
I
Subhanallah.
understand.
But this is the power of if we tap into the Quran and so remember these guys studied Surah Al-Baqarah for 8 years.
So
They,
there
they
was a
studied
succession. What I tell you, there was a direct succession, and unfortunately, that direct succession has stopped, and obviously, it's more difficult to set up again. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. But I think,
there's a beautiful Amr Sahib, there's a beautiful YouTube channel called History Yun, and mashallah the ustad there does amazing stuff. And what you want to look for is the background on the history of Umayyads. He's done a very good one, tight one that makes you understand why things went down the way they did. It's a very beautiful way he did it. It's called
yeah.
History Yun.
Okay, without further ado, obviously, I think all three of us agree that having a caliphate or system is the best system, and that's when the adherence of Muslims prospered the most. Obviously, and uh, God's law.
Let's because let's
Let's
get rid of
let,
the names
uh,
because people they get confused by it. We are
yeah,
interested in only upholding
yeah.
Allah's
So
system. If that means
I did
Khilafah, we're definitely gonna go for it.
I did a bit of research myself, and I've come across what is Darul Islam and what is Darul Kufr. So Darul Islam is a state in which the social system is Islamic, the education system is Islamic, the ruling system is Islamic, the judicial system is Islamic, the foreign policy is Islamic, and security is in the hands of the Muslims. That's Darul Islam. Darul Kufr, today, whether it is Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, or Turkey, they fall into the category of Darul Kufr because their systems are based on capitalism, democracy, and secularism, which are, in simple terms, considered taghuti, non-Muslim, non-Islamic, man-made systems. So this is what the scholars, agree on. That this is the difference between the two systems, the Darul Islam and Darul Kufr. Well, I've got some obviously scholars who have mentioned what it is. Darul Islam has two conditions to exist. First, that the security is upheld by Muslims, and second, that the rules of Islam are implemented therein as these were fulfilled in Medina, and if they were not fulfilled, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have not immigrated there. That was by Sheikh Taqi al-Nabhani rahmatullah alayh. And the other one is there are only two divisions, Darul Islam and Darul Kufr. Any land where Islamic laws are dominated is Darul Islam, and any land where the laws of Kufr are dominant is Darul Kufr. There are no other categories besides these two. And this is Imam Ibn Mufli al-Maqdisi, rahmatullah alayh, Hanbali scholar.
So basically, basically, what you're trying to say in a nutshell, the current world when Darul Kufr.
Yeah. So you tell me if any of these conditions are met.
That's what I'm telling. That's what I am. I agree with you. And then, how do we establish that? Obviously, you're saying the ideology exists, and it exists.
The method to the
the
method
method,
to
the method
the
exists.
method.
The method
So
exists.
sorry, go on then.
So the method exists, but for some reason we are not on that particular method. When other methods like democracy and other stuff, yes, which I agree, and which is uh, even I would say probably non-Christian concepts as well. So I understand what you're saying. I 100% agree with you that I'm going to end it now. That
No, just quickly, I'm going to quickly respond to that. Quick, one sentence response is it. So if you don't study Sira from the beginning of the revelations to the end of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life, that's all Sira for you. And you
Yes.
can find, and you must follow that prophetic pathway.
Path. That's it.
Yeah.
That's why I 100% agree with that. And as I said, the caliphate system is the best system. And obviously we've had many with the current social security systems in a lot of the countries has emulated from the Islamic systems. I understand that, and yes, that's what we should aim. But I think obviously what very different from is how do we set up that. I understand that having that ideology, having that method that exists, everything exists. There's
I
more
don't
Muslims.
think we.
There's
We
more.
can
I don't
come
think me and
together and
Abdul
we can
Jabbar
discuss.
differ.
There's more
Yeah.
Muslims in the world.
As
And
far
still,
as Amr, as far as on you to work to establish the Khilafah, this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. If the
yeah,
the bayah of the Imam is not on your neck, you die the death of Jahiliyyah.
and
Today,
that's
that
why
is
me
makes it farz.
and the Wood Sahab are talking about this and to
Yeah.
try to explain to people why it's important, why is it the best system,
But
you
that's
know.
the job of the imam in the masjid
Mhm.
should be
Yeah.
the one.
Should be doing that. Yeah.
We're just doing we're just
So
on
we're
the
just doing
periphery, man.
petty stuff.
I know,
Alhamdulillah.
country,
That's
but
the job of the imams, man.
I think it's
Instead, the
not.
imams are telling you
I know,
three
but
tasbih or something. I don't know.
we have learned from obviously from our previous conversations on forums and on groups that what do you call the person that who may become a caliph may not be a pious individual who may not be an imam. You don't have to technically speaking be imam, as we've seen from several reports. I don't know if they are how correct they are, but what
Well, at the end of the day, piety is not something that you and me, anybody can measure. That's in Allah's hands. He has to be competent. That's it. He has to be competent. He needs to know how it works, how power works, and that happens when the lobby is created. Well, modern day is a lobby, but a group is formed to create that catalyst where this individual is able to flourish to become the Khalifa again. You see what I'm saying?
and as you mentioned, Imran Khan, for example, obviously he wanted to achieve that. I don't know. Obviously, he's sidetracked, and he didn't
I
achieve a
don't
lot
know,
of stuff.
like
I don't think he
why
wanted to do
did
that.
he go the way he
He
did?
didn't want.
knew,
He didn't want to
he
implement
studied with
the
these people.
Medina model. They used it to get into power. He was the
Exactly.
opportunist,
Yeah.
and I don't think we should like be idolizing him.
I know, but how do
All
you
the
know?
other all the other personalities we idolize.
Simply,
He
how do you
said,
know that was his aim?
Amr Saab, on record, this is what he said, on record. He believes in a two-state solution. The moment you do that, I think your iman becomes a bit questionable. It means you're no longer upon truth. Meaning, like even let's say put the Quran, we can never put the Quran on the side, but let's just 1 second. Amr Saab, I steal your house, and then I'm going to divide it. I'm going to go one, and you can have the other. And then someone like a leader like Imran Khan comes says, I believe in the two-state solution or two-house solution, one for Dawood and one for Amr. But the house was yours, Amr. That's the truth. All of it's yours, not mine. I have to give it all back. So how
And
can someone who's educated in Oxford say he believes in two-state solution?
Right. Yes, I understand that. Obviously, you've given that
It goes against common sense.
the reality is that Imran Khan and his PTI government shot dead TLP, who were doing a dharna in Islamabad, shelled them, shot them dead, made them shaheed. They did not. They did not reply with violence. Why were they not allowed to protest? While he had dharnas, he had protests, and he was telling people to fight back and to kill and blah blah blah. And this is what he was able to get away with, while protesters against the for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ's honor, Namuz, they hadn't a protest. I mean, why are you going there and shooting and killing them? And look at what that Imran Khan, he didn't even hold on to the Kashmiri flag.
If anything, Amr Saab, let's give him a little silver lining, just a little one. He's in prison. So he's in prison. He's in prison for what he believed in, and maybe that's his trial. And I can't say any more than that.
Yeah. I think obviously he's paid a heavy price, and he's a person who probably had.
He didn't run away like Nawaz Sharif and all the rest of them. So we give him credit where it's due.
Right. Okay. That's why obviously these. I think obviously we are a people that what do you call believe in that a system. The best system is the system where God's very own system where there is God's law. Yes, and obviously implementation
Amr
is.
Saab, through that law, you and me could possibly, if we put our heads together, rediscover how to travel from here to another galaxy. That'd be amazing.
Yes, I think. Yeah.
Put you first on Mars.
Let's
honestly, AJ, man, we can get to a different. It's
this is a possibility. Yeah.
Let's make a tire that is durable for traveling in light years.
You can. Oh man, Amr Saab, if those research centers were open in the masjids,
exactly.
We'll be
You're talking about a highly funded. You're talking about a highly funded spaceship. Who's going to fund that? That's what I was trying to get at.
Pakistan's voice agency, now space agency.
I'm talking about a spaceship. In the Quran, Ibrahim ﷺ was able to warp space and time. We need to find out how he did that.
Right. We do have a final topic. Shall we commence on to our final topic, or shall we leave it as this? I think we've talked a lot.
Yeah, give it 10 minutes. Then, if you want to give it a 10 minutes, 15 minutes at max, yeah.
Some people class it as the biggest Satan in the world, which is the United States, and obviously we also have Israel, which is a dodgy, Zionistic extremist. And which is causing genocide on their behalf. The United States attacked Iran, and I think what are we doing today? Probably 5 minutes, just an update on what's happening. Shall we say? I'm going to use the word politically. Sometimes you don't like that word, but politically, what is going on? And on the ground, obviously, there's we've got Iran being bombed. People are dying, and I think it's all to do with the stay of Hormuz. Please, can you guide us, Ajaz?
So what happened was, I think it's Bahrain or one of the smaller states around the area. They tried to use that side to take ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. And as they were taking them out, this is what is reported that the Iranians fired on the ships. And obviously, they were the Americans responded, and then Iran responded back. And now, obviously, if the latest is that Trump, is blaming the Islamic Republic of Japan.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
So that'll be amazing. Now, what realistically, obviously, what is happening is. This
maybe do you think he's got some kind of guidance that the next Islamic system is going to come from Japan?
Okay, I mean the thing is he's talking loads of nonsense. I mean some of the stuff he's come out with is so off the rails. You think, oh my God, what is he on about? And I just basically can't believe that what you said.
You're doing some research. I'll go to Dawood Sab. So Dawood Sab, can you update us on what's happening in that part of the world? And do you think there's going to be any conclusion soon?
It looks like looking from the outward, America's replenished its arsenal, and now it's trying to continue the war with Iran. Um, that's what this whole nonsense about having a memorandum of agreement was all about, just to slow things down. And it's the real key player in objectively speaking is Pakistan. It can change things around, and all it has to do, which it should have done 3 years ago, 3 years ago, in fact, many years ago, but 3 years ago at least, is point rockets towards Tel Aviv and then unilaterally attack New Delhi. This and it has opportunity of his lifetime because Iran is no longer
I
with
don't think
India.
Pakistan can do that alone, can they?
They're not on their own. How are they on their own? They got Iran. They've got
So,
Iran on side.
so Iran, Pakistan, and who else?
Turkey, if he wants to, but unfortunately, Turkey is NATO.
Yeah. So I just got this
But it
post. I
could
mean,
break rank.
it's basically about some of the comments that Trump made. Dr. Akmal writes, the words he used were scum, sick, vicious, violent, liars, and cuckoo.
And
Trump
think about why he
uses.
did that. Why did he do
Yeah,
that?
just
He
give me a
did that
second.
in Turkey. He did that in Turkey, which shares a border with Iran. Basically, Iran is his neighbor. So he deliberately did that in Turkey.
Hmm.
Send a message that these guys are still part of NATO to Iran,
Hmm.
causing a rift. Now it's up to Turkey how he wants to play, but Turkey is a treacherous nation of its own.
So obviously, there's a memorandum of understanding. Do you think that is
Not
still
anymore.
that doesn't exist anymore?
Come on, Auzubillah.
Okay, so if the memorandum of understanding doesn't exist, but I think Trump is still scared of a full-scale war. Obviously, he's definitely scared of sending troops on the
Anything to
ground.
him. He's not scared of nothing. It doesn't mean anything to him. He's not going to be fighting the war.
Yeah, he's not going to be. I mean,
It doesn't mean anything to him.
And we
It's
know
he
is
says
market
he doesn't.
manipulation.
He's not interested anymore in a ceasefire. That's what he said. He says clearly. He said he described the Iranians as scum, thick, vicious, violent, liars, cuckoo.
Now the ball, to be honest with you, is in the
Trump,
courts
yeah,
of
just give me a second. I
Iraq.
mean, give me
Sorry,
about
go ahead.
30 seconds. I just want to read this out to you. Trump uses the adjectives and attributes, even though he was on the one that was barbarically killed the top government officials without a declaration of war. Trump attacked twice within 8 months. It was Trump who talked about the annihilation of a civilization. It is Trump who talks about destroying water filtration and power plants. It was Trump who attacked schools and hospitals. And yet, the colonial Western ruler is civilized, and the ones facing his craziness are the cuckoo and sick. There are plenty who would like to place the Western European colonial powers on some higher moral pedestal, whether it is Trump or Obama. There is no difference in their outlook on Muslim populations worldwide, whether it is the European Muslims of Bosnia and Serbia, or half European like Turkey, or Southeast Asians from Malaysia. All are considered exactly the same. This dehumanization is necessary for them to mobilize their population whose hearts are filled with hate and rage. Western civilization has been the worst thing that has ever happened to humanity, worse than Genghis, Stalin, or Mao. The world needs to be rescued from the Epstein civilization and for the just Ummah to take up its due position, i.e., the best people raised for mankind who enjoin the good and forbid the evil. This will only happen through the re-establishment of the Khilafah state. Trump said regarding the Muslims of Iran, I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is. They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people, and they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'll use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people, Steve Wickoff, Jared Kushner, but they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. They, Iran, go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo as far as I'm concerned. It's over.
That's
This is
fine.
Dr.
That's fine.
Akmal. I'm reading his
That's
comment.
Thank you for that. But obviously, they've got a memorandum of understanding. Is that dead and buried, or does that still exist? Because they're not going on a
They can change anything. I mean, the thing is,
war, are they? There's not a full scale war now, is there? It's just like skirmishes kind of thing.
no, it's all. I mean, why is it? They're going to continue, and they've been continuing for several days in attacks. So this they can't go back to the negotiating table. But they've already had a few agreements and they've broken them.
The reality is it all comes down to them Iran doing what it should do now is take out the any assets in the region, whether they're in Saudi, Bahrain, or Kuwait, or Iraq, and especially the aircraft carriers. That's it. It'll be game over for them. They can't come back for maybe another 20 years. That's if they still existing. So that's just a silly view of mine. But Allah knows best.
Right. Obviously, we recall. I don't think that situation is ever changing, and I don't think that situation is going to come to resolutions anytime
They
soon.
can. Pakistan pulls out a finger.
Yeah. So, yeah, I
When
think
they get stuck, they do a ceasefire, don't they? When the Americans get stuck, they call the United Nations and
of
call
course,
all the
several times they've
bodies.
called Nineties, and we do know that, believe it or not, many commentators, even the American commentators, are saying the United States has lost the war. But obviously, Israel is doing damage to Lebanon, is taking over territories in Lebanon, and they've also got territories in Syria. Obviously, they got Palestine is fully occupied. They can't exit. The Palestinians can't exit, unfortunately, and the current situation, obviously, for the Muslim Ummah is shameful. But I think uh, this uh, this current scenario, what's happened is we do know the United States and Israel is defeatable, and what do you call it? So we have to be grateful to the nations who have actually stood up for the
But that's
right.
the issue. The issue is in how you phrased it already. Nations, the nationalists. We need to be ummatic. We are
Yeah.
ummatic.
I know,
Once we become ummatic,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
when victory
I
comes.
think you're talking
Victory
about
comes when you're
Spain and
ummatic.
Ireland, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Iran, Iran, and probably the people that are fighting against Israel, the
This is
organizations that are fighting against.
like the concept of the nation is the reason why Pakistan's not moving. It doesn't consider those 200 daughters that were slaughtered in just 200 kilometers on the border. There is daughters when in Islam they are the daughters of Pakistan. They are our daughters.
Yeah, and
They
we
are our
obviously
daughters.
that example, obviously Asfa Siddiqui, is it Asfa Siddiqui and a couple others. They've sold out, and even currently we've seen
And who demanded them on
there are people
3 occasions?
being
Which
kidnapped
Muslims had demanded
and
them?
people are
It
being
was
killed
Afghanistan.
in Pakistan. Yeah,
Who demanded? What was this? Is a crazy thing. I mean, when you think about it, the Doha Accords with America, it was Afghanistan, the Taliban who demanded on 3 occasions. Number one thing, we want our sister back. And they kept saying, "Why do you want? She's Pakistani." No, she's Muslim. Why do you have her? We want her back 3 times on the negotiating tables.
interesting. And obviously, uh, I think what do you call, having a powerful caliphate system would benefit the Muslim Ummah. I think we probably all agree on that. And obviously, thank you for your time and views. What do you call,
You,
and you've given your time, which not everybody can give, your views, which are sometimes highly educational, and they actually do give us insight into what's important for Muslims to do, and how we can get out of this rut, shall we say? How can we come out of
The
this
mold. We need to
situation?
break the mold.
How do we make? And I think obviously there are organizations, there are people out there to hopefully
Inshallah.
guide us. And once again, thank you for your time, AJ, Asab, and Dawood Saab. Take care. Thank
Thanks
you.
for inviting me.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Hopefully, we will
Thank
see
you.
you guys soon. Allah
See you,
Hafiz.
inshallah. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.